Get clear on what you want. Take some time to reflect on what is it that I actually want to happen here. And then the next thing is to have a strategic plan.
Hey, Kara, welcome to the show.
Hi, Max. Thanks for having me.
How's your April so far?
It's been a hectic month, I will say, but I'm glad that we're moving forward towards May.
We are entering the second quarter of 2024. A lot of people have like different career goals, business goals. However, the same question applies is like they feel like they're not making the moves that will really elevate their like business or career. So I wanted to have you on my podcast just to discuss how to effectively scale. It seems a lot of people have issues in a certain threshold. So for example, let's say you start off in creating like a side hustle business. You're getting like respectable 4-figure months with a few clients here and there, and you don't know what else to do to scale to 5 or 6. Like you've done the organic content, you've done like email marketing, you've done like podcast guesting, but you don't seem to be able to move the needle. And from us talking offline, you help businesses scale exponentially and obviously help uncover roadblocks that prevented them from scaling in the first place. With that all being said, why don't you walk us through more about your experience in this field of helping businesses scale their business?
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing me to your audience, and hopefully we can give some information that's going to support somebody achieving their own goals, whether it's a side hustle or their own business that they start. So I always like to say that scaling really starts from the very beginning. And one of the things that happens if people come to me is there's a lot of guessing games that happen. Like you said, it's like I'll be a podcast guest, I'm going to put out the content, and it doesn't always get the results that we want. And so, what I help people with is learn how to make data driven decisions in their own business. Sometimes when it's personal to us, when it's our idea, our business, we sometimes stick with something that's not working perfectly. So, for me, it's not a question of will or won't your idea work out in business. I like to look at it from the approach of what do we need to change so that it will work. It might be that a lot of times you're not clear on your messaging, your offer. Some of those things are problems. And so if we start to look at the data and see, okay, for example, if you're doing organic content, what's the engagement look like? Are you getting profile views? Are you getting followers? Is anyone contacting you? If you're putting out messages, to offer something. So those are some of the areas that I help people with and start to get clear in their own business. And especially if it's a side hustle for you, or you're just starting and you have other income coming in from another area, it's the perfect opportunity to have a data driven business while you're taking action because you're not fully depending on it for your income at that point.
And you make a good point, right? Because everybody seems to like you have to jump right into the deep end right away. But it's always good to launch it as a side hustle because then you can test and pivot multiple times. Compared to like if you're heavily relying on it, you don't want to make a mistake and then it ends up costing your business. While if it's a side hustle, that's not your primary source of income, so you can experiment, maybe take a few losses, but get some learning lessons along the way to help you grow exponentially.
Yeah, I always say there's nothing wrong with, doing things for fast cash, right? It's okay. Even if it's not your ultimate idea in your business or what you want to sell or how you want to help people, it's okay to do other things that are going to earn you cash so that you can take care of whatever you need in life. I talked to somebody about a week or so ago, and she did the opposite of that, and unfortunately her business was failing, and it was at the end point for her. She jumped right in, quit her job, and was just expecting everything to happen, and it didn't quite happen the way she wanted from her business. And I hate it when that happens to people. So it's, I like to focus on kind of plan, prepare, pursue. It's like we have to have a little planning in there. We have to have a strategy when we're growing a business and scaling. It's good to try out things and throw some spaghetti at the wall, but you want to make sure that once you find something that works, then you can scale that up and repeat that. It's all about, having a business that's repeatable, right? It's otherwise it's just us, the founder in the business forever. But if we have a business that we can repeat, then we can bring other people in, build a team, and that's when you started getting into the, 7-figure area.
So touching upon all that, the first thing about she jumped all into her business and it didn't work out the way she intended. There's definitely rules of thumb on when you should quit your job to fully pursue your side hustle. Some say like you should have your side hustle income should be beating your full-time job's income by like 10 months or something. Another one is like if you are projected to make like 70 to 80% of what you would make in your full-time job, then it's a good time to quit. Like what is there any sort of benchmark? Because like there's a lot of conflicting information on when's the right time to like quit your full-time job to pursue the full-time hustle.
That's a very good question. And I think, like with anything, there's a lot of ways to get to the goal. And so I don't think that there's any one way that's perfect. And I would never give out advice like that and have somebody follow it. There's a lot of factors that go into deciding. What I would say is that we have to make data driven decisions in our business and our life. So if you're in a position, where you can afford to go on a prediction of what you think you're going to make, well, after having a few months of consistency, and that's the right time for you, then take the chance. If you're not, depending on what you're responsible for in life, then it wouldn't be the right time for you. So the best way to know that is to look at the numbers. A lot of people get hyped up on the wrong data. It's like we had 755% engagement on LinkedIn this week. And I'm always like, what does that mean? To have more than 100% of engagement on something. And, people are really interested. Well, what I want to look at is, are we having sales or getting emails or getting opt ins for whatever we have? That's how we make a data driven decision. So we can't just go on our gut feeling. I had a client that I worked with long ago, and she had a quiz in the business, and it was a really good quiz. She was selling an educational program to parents, and it was a great quiz, and they were getting so many leads, so low cost, coming in, running ads to it, but nobody was buying. And the owner didn't want to accept the truth. Ego can get in the way sometimes for us in business. She wanted to just, it's working great, but it didn't matter if you got 80-cent leads. If no one paid you any money in the end, then all you did is spend 80 cents. And so we have to be able to be honest with ourselves and objective.
Yeah, like I was honest with myself too, right? So like I grew my business initially through organic content and I was getting a lot of views and all that. But it reached the point where I was capped and I couldn't like stretch it anymore for whatever reason. And it's one of the big myths of like business, like the more content you create, the more views you get, the more views you get, the more followers, and then that will make you the money. But I was still like growing my following, but it wasn't translating to sales. So then I really had to go back and say to myself, okay, what problem am I actually solving? And then I was able to like re-strategize, and now it goes back to I'm being more of a solution provider, not just someone that just creates content and like gets brand awareness only.
Yeah, I think that's a really good reflection, right? It's like we have to make sure that we're solving a big enough problem that it's a high enough pain point. And that's where coming to know your niche and your avatar really well is important, because you might be solving a problem they have, but is it a problem enough that they're going to pay money now to get that solution solved? What I work on with people is adding outbound marketing into your business. So everything you're talking about is a bit of inbound marketing, right? You put the content out there and then we hope people like us. We hope people contact us and they say, Max, I can't wait to work with you. Kara, please hire me. But that's not always what happens when you're starting a business and it's earlier on, even when you have a lot of engagement and following. And so, what I work with people on is building an outbound marketing in their business. I tend to help people focus more on having a higher ticket offer earlier. A lot of people choose lower ticket items and think that that's how they're going to get to where they want. You have to sell a lot more of a lower ticket item than you do of a higher ticket item. So, especially I work with entrepreneurs on productizing their knowledge and how to use that in a way to turn it into something that you can have a bit higher ticket in the business. And then adding in outbound marketing so that you have some direct outreach going. You're not waiting for people to come to you, you're starting the conversations and you have a process to follow.
One of the things you mentioned earlier about like having like a repeatable business to help scale, right? I'm a career coach, and one of the issues with my business is in terms of like writing a resume, you write it one time and then that's it, right? They might ask you to like refresh it a couple of years from now, but it's not like reoccurring revenue. It's not like them constantly reordering it. So you think one of the reasons why people can't scale is like they're just hitting customers one time and they're always having to generate new customers and they're not creating a model where they can constantly go to them and buy new things.
Yeah, like right with resume writing, that could be a great example where you're getting them when they're having that pain point. It's like, I want to change something in my life and I want somebody to help me craft my resume in a way that's going to get me what I want. But what you would need to do is kind of productize your knowledge with that. So instead of just having that one thing to sell, is there's a whole lot more that goes into the transition in a career, right? And a job change. And, in addition to the resume, if you had sort of a program or something where you could have them practicing interview skills, some videos that they would watch within your portal to learn how to do that. So that's what I find is most successful for people. So instead of just selling a one time thing, you're selling something that has more to go with it. Then you're solving more of a problem for the person, right? It's a bigger problem. That's sometimes where I think people struggle in businesses. We choose one problem to solve. And especially if it's a service based business where you're, writing the resume, like you always can run out of time, right? You always run out of time and not be able to accomplish all the goals. So it's always good to try to have something that's a little higher ticket to sell. And that's not just an exchange, but also like an information product.
In terms of your strategies on helping entrepreneurs scale, do you focus more on the service-based businesses or more on product-based businesses?
Less on product based, more on coaches, consultants, and service based is more who I like to work with.
So with that being said, when it comes to scaling, scaling means that you're going to take on more clients, regardless of how more expensive you can like charge, like increase your price. There comes a point where there's only so much work you can do. So how do you scale in regards to like higher, like as in terms of like profitability, right? So the more clients you get, the more money's coming in, but you also have to hire people to do the work. So what's the balance between like scaling profitably or just instead of just scaling to make more money, but you're actually netting a profit loss?
Yeah, I mean, I think that comes down to really make sure that it's profitable is to leverage your time. And so, where you used to serve or deliver in a one to one scenario, trying to have something in the business that lets you deliver or serve in a one to many scenario. So, the different options of like done with you, done for you, DIY, right? You can, it sounds like in resume writing or what other people might be doing, you might be delivering the done for you. And that's usually where people start in their businesses is it's either a product or it's a done for you thing. I'll do it for you and you pay me money. And then when you start scaling up, if you can be building up a product that is going to be productizing your knowledge and that's going to be helping you work with multiple people in one setting, like a group program where they're getting access to you. They're getting support and access, but they're not having unlimited access to you, and you're not doing the work for them. Like one of the things that I've learned in my own business and working with other people is a lot of times we spend time on things that aren't actually helping us, right? We're focusing on the wrong things. And so one of the things I do with clients is we do a no manifesto, and it's where we start to get really clear on what we're no longer available for. So if you're creating a ton of content and you're not getting engagement, you're having sales calls and it's not working, like I'm no longer available for the negativity that comes with that. Like you're committing to what you want to happen, and sometimes that energy shifting lets people open up and be more willing to do what's scary to them, which is productize your knowledge. Take everything that you've done and you've learned and turn it into a product that could be a little higher ticket to help people.
A lot of people are afraid to like outsource their work into like either outsourcing to like Fiverr or Upwork or actually hiring a full-time employee. What is your advice for like helping a solopreneur be able to like give away some of that money to invest in a team compared to trying to do it all themselves?
Yes, that's something that always has to happen for everybody, right? You can't get scaled without having a team. And if we're fearful about hiring people on Fiverr and Upwork, we should be in some sense, because it's our brand and it's us who's going to be ultimately responsible. So the way to combat that is don't try to hire people to solve the problem for you. Solve your own problem in your business, and then you'll be able to communicate more clearly exactly what you need, right? I mean, if you need a website built or some coding done, might not be able to do that, but you have to be really clear on like what's the solution that I need. And instead of asking, a lot of times we're asking people that we hire to work with us to solve a problem for us, but we need to know what we need problem solved so that they can come in and do it. And SOPs, like systems and processes, is what people proves you in business. So people come and go all the time. We also access a lot of global talent, and that's a really effective way to have people actually on your team and not just hire people for single individual projects. That lets people, hire somebody and have somebody that they can work with and get more used to each other, and productivity increases.
How does one go about like, in terms of like setting up the team, like the SOPs, right? Like standard operating procedures, like creating systems. A lot of solopreneurs, they tend to be all over the place. But again, if you want to scale, you have to have like a repeatable system where if you bring someone new in, they're able to quickly grasp what you're looking for. And then on the other side, like you said, like scaling through like digitizing your knowledge or serving one to many in a group setting. That does seem like a lot to take on right away. So where should a person looking to scale, what's their first order of business?
I would say just start to document what you're doing. So, when let's say you get some business, you get some new contracts, and you're creating a custom proposal for everybody, a custom contract, then you're delivering their service. You're busy, right? You just feel like chaos is happening. I mean, that's a good thing because you're generating revenue, but give yourself some time either during it or after it just to do a little reflection. All right, what went good with that? And what could I improve on? Like if I'd say anything, I'd say end your day every day as an entrepreneur with asking yourself those questions like what went good today? What can I improve on? And then over time you'll start to be able to document your processes. You're right. There's no sense in documenting a process and you've only had a few sales in the beginning and you're just getting started. But know that that's the ultimate goal. That's where you want to get to, because that's how you're going to get more time back to grow your business. You'll be able to then bring somebody in maybe to do that one task or the one portion of something, or you'll automate it for yourself. And that's going to give you some of that time freedom. As an entrepreneur, if we're so bogged down with service delivery, whatever that looks like, whether it's shipping out things, whatever it is, if we're so caught in service delivery, where's the time to be the entrepreneur, to hold the vision for the company and to create that? So I think that's a really important thing to allow space for in your entrepreneurial journey.
There's that saying, which I'm pretty sure you're familiar with, Kara, is work on your business, not in your business. A lot of starting entrepreneurs or even entrepreneurs in like 5-figure months, 6-figure business, they're still working like in their business, is not on it. How do you help them with that mindset shift to get out of the business, like out of your head, and actually focus on more of the vision, not necessarily just doing all the service delivery as you mentioned?
Yeah, two things. So one thing is getting really clear on what you want in all areas of your life. I do something called a clarity compass roadmap, and it's looking at all the different areas of your life and just take some time to identify, what do you want? Is it that I want to have more time with my family? I want to have more financial freedom. Instead of just doing, 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 let's get clear. What do I want to happen? And how do I want to feel in the future? And then having a strategy to achieve that. So instead of just guessing and trying things, you can do that, but then measure the data from it, check your results, and actually have a scaling strategy. And that's how I help people, in the work that I do, is helping them have a proven scaling strategy that they can implement and install in their business, so that they're not stuck, trying to guess and figure it out all the time. So, if you're at that place where you're ready to move forward with your business, I think for anyone, find a coach, whoever that is, a consultant, somebody who's going to help you. There's no one way to get your business scaled. There's lots of ways. So find somebody who's going to help you get to what your goals are, but you can't get there if you don't know what they are.
Yeah, so in terms of like, there's multiple ways to scale. One quick way or quick win to scale is to raise your price, right? Because then you're growing your revenue with the same amount of clients. Another way would be to, as you said, which is not really the right way, is basically lower the price, but then get more volume. Obviously, then there's capacity issues. So let's just focus on like being able to raise your price to still serve the same volume of clients, but then making more just because you raise the price. So how do you justify like price increases? Like, what's the pricing strategy where you can increase the price and still have that same level of demand?
When it comes to, mid to higher ticket items, I say if you sell something at a price three times, then you can double the price, and you can try that. And so that's kind of how I do the price jumps. Always start off with beta pricing. And then after you get a few yeses, I even say to people, start off with an energetic exchange. Like, maybe it's not about somebody giving you their money the first time. Maybe there's somebody that you can trade something with. But the whole idea is you want to get good at selling what you have and getting people to say yes to you, and then you charge them $1,000, and then it's 5,000, and then it's 10,000, or whatever it is. So I would come in at getting three, and by that point you should be able to systematize your process a little. Okay, if I sold this thing three times at $500, what did I do to make that happen? All right, because we want to do those same things and try to sell it at $1,000. We want to make sure that we did it the same way. All right, now if I do, okay, what do I need to change to increase it? So that's how I like to look at it. Sell it at three times, and then one thing we didn't talk about yet that is really the key to success is not creating your product, program, or service until you've sold it. So I implement the sell before you build strategy. So plan out your idea, prepare yourself, but don't actually waste your time. That's the number one mistake people make. And they spend so much time building out a course, building out a program, making pages for freebies, just doing all these things, coming up with their products. And I would say sell your concept first, make sure that you've got the product market fit for whatever it is that you need, and then create it.
So when you mean like create the proof of concept, are you saying like advertise it, maybe put them on a wait list or even like a paid wait list, like a pre-order, and then see how much demand you have, and then if there's demand isn't as high as you want, you can always refund the money. Is that what you mean in terms of like finding that like product market fit, that that proof of concept is like doing some sort of pre-order or a wait list?
Yeah, sure. I mean, depending on what your product is, right, and how you're going to do it. I mean, if I collected money from people, I'd certainly want to make sure you were able to deliver that. But just selling it one to one at first, so not trying to, build out a big list. Whatever you're trying to sell, have a conversation with someone. If they get a yes, if they're willing to pay you for it, make sure you can deliver that, right? Because you don't want to have service delivery problems. That's not good in business. Then sell it again at that price. Make sure you can do it, handle it, sell it again. So I would say more like that. And once you're getting that yes, then you can listen to your calls. What did I say? Okay, can I put that onto a sales page now? How would that work? Like, we don't have to go through building out all our funnels and getting everything set up perfectly, sales sequences, emails. Like, don't waste your time on that stuff. Test out first. Do I actually know the problem that I'm going to solve? Do I know my avatar well enough that I'm going to have a conversation with them? I'm going to hear about their problem and I'm going to tell them I have a solution. It's this. And they're going to say yes to me. That's what you want to test out before you do any planning out.
Go back to the price increase a bit. One of the issues a lot of entrepreneurs have is like they can't see themselves increasing the price without adding something to it, but sometimes that's not even necessary. What's your thoughts on that in terms of like, is it necessary to always like add additional features of value to justify the price increase, or you don't think it really matters, or it's better to just test the price increase without like, changing anything and just see what the close rate or response is?
Yeah, I think testing it's how you do it. It's, that's the data that you need. And a lot of people end up lowering their prices, right? It's like, oh, that didn't work. But instead of trying to lower your price, start off at something that you feel really good about. Not what your friends are telling you and not the people are saying online, you have to charge at least this much for your time. No. What are you going to feel super comfortable telling somebody you're going to charge for your program, service, or product? And try to sell it at that. Because then you're going to eliminate that barrier of self doubt in yourself, get yeses, do it 3 times, bring it up to the next level, and continue to do that for yourself. And, I would say with changing and with pricing, it's again, it's just making that decision and don't cheapen yourself. Sometimes it's pulling things out of your program and turning them into a bonus, right? Or adding something different. But just the fact that your product or your service or your expertise is higher quality necessitates the price. And I think that's a good point you brought up, Max, because a lot of people are like, oh, that wouldn't be fair if they have a group, let's say. That's not fair. Or what if the other people find out that somebody paid more money? And to that, I just say that's your right as an entrepreneur. You're allowed to have specials, offers, beta pricing. If somebody came in and paid 5,000 and the next one pays 10,000, your program went up and that's that. So don't get caught up in all that. Just you look at it as collecting data. I just want to see how many can I sell at this. All right, I said the right words there, had the right process in place. Now, what if I added an email before the call with the person? How would that help? What if I added in a video there to give them some more information? You just start testing out like different variables to see how you can continue to increase it. So I'd be less worried about what else you have to add and just more worried about making your process repeatable while you're learning how to do it.
You mentioned before in terms of like scaling, like the assumption is like when you're scaling, that means you have to put in more work. But your tagline is, "I'm going to help you scale your business without spending more time working." Right. So how does that go? That's kind of like I think the paradox is the right word. Where like when someone is looking to scale, they expect that they have to do more work to scale it. But your motto or MO is that I'm going to help you scale, but you're actually not going to have to spend as much time working as you initially thought. So how are you able to, do that?
Yeah, because burnout, the way I work with people, I call it the balance and scale method, and that's for a reason. Burnout is a really big thing for entrepreneurs. It happens to us all at different times. New level, new devil, they say, right? You keep having challenges as you're scaling, and so the way that you avoid burnout is to systematize things, is to make your business repeatable, and is to build a team. So as soon as you figure out, okay, I can sell my thing at this. Now, great. Let me try to have someone else do that. I wouldn't recommend bringing in other people to help you with sales initially. But the way we avoid burnout is getting a really clear plan on what do I want in my life? Are my actions matching my values? I had a mom who did live launching model to sell her thing, and she had little kids, and it was just like didn't make sense for her. It wasn't realistic. Live launching is a lot of time and energy, and an evergreen model was a better fit for her. So if you allow yourself to get clear on what you want and what you want it to look like, that's hard for people sometimes because they don't know what's available to them. They don't know what it could look like. So you have to allow yourself to like imagine and hold that vision. And then if you know what you want, your actions start to align with it. But the truth is, there is a hustle period. There's no way around a hustle period. I have a blog article. Maybe you can link it, Max. It's called "Hustle or Anti-Hustle," and which one should you be? And the truth is, you have to be some of both. But you have to plan ahead and choose wisely on where your hustle is going to go. I tell people we need to focus on revenue generating activities every day. So if you're going to hustle, it's going to be about that. Don't hustle about building your program, making more freebies, writing a bunch of emails like what's revenue generating. Message somebody on social media and have a conversation. Go look up hashtags and post comments on those. Like have calls with people. Try to sell what you have to sell And that's going to be more worth your time. So those are some of the ways that you can avoid burnout in a business.
Go back to what you said earlier about like you don't recommend outsourcing your sales, at least not right at the beginning during your scaling process. One of the big trends right now is appointment setters, right? And then there's obviously like those salespeople you mentioned, like outsourcing your sales team. A lot of entrepreneurs they just don't like the sales. They don't like being on the phone all the time. They're trying to sell the product, so they want to like get appointment setters to like chase these leads that collected the free lead magnets to book a call, so then they can like sell them because it's a bit easier. And then the other thing I just mentioned, they don't even want to do that. They just want to just outsource the whole like sales and appointment setting outside. So then they just work on other aspects of the business. But obviously, you don't recommend that. Why is that? And when is it a good time to actually do that?
Great question. I have appointment setters on my team. We do cold calling, we do cold emailing, we do follow-ups, with the team. We do a lot of different lead generation activities. And, first and what you said is so true. So many entrepreneurs I work with, I don't want to do the sales. I'm not good at that. It's scary for people. I know when I added that into my business in the past few years, it was terrifying for me. And I remember I said I almost felt like I was going to have a breakdown. It was just like pushing me over the limit to do this selling thing. And so what I work on is how to be anti-salesy. If you have the right steps in place in your process, if you're finding out the biggest problem you're solving for someone and you actually have a solution for that, it's going to make things flow so much better. And the best way to make sure you have a product market fit in that way is for you to do some selling yourself. So as part of my program, I train people, I give them scripts, I help them understand that, and I train them on how to do that. I think once you've sold your product, your program, whatever it is, several times for yourself, then you can bring other people in. And depending on your process, I usually recommend a two-call closing process, and that's depending on the price of what you're selling. So if you're selling your services, you're always going to be the best person at selling it, even though you think you're not or you're scared. We just want somebody to come in and take the problem away for us. It's like I said earlier when we talked about hiring people and contractors, on Fiverr, Upwork, whatever. It's like don't expect someone to come in and solve your problem for you. If you have millions of dollars and you can hire the right people to run your business for you, some do that. But for most people, it's like, how can you run a business if you don't know how to do it yourself? And you know what? I'll share on that. I did make this mistake myself. I saw this idea of appointment setters as I was doing sales in my own business, and I was like, great, because I don't want to do it. I don't know how to do it exactly. And I learned a really big lesson. When people work for you, you have to give them support, guidance, and training, right? Especially appointment setters not going to come in as like a professional closer. And it was really hard for me to train them and really hard to know what to say because I never did it myself. I never made those calls myself. So I ended up giving some bad advice and it didn't help us. And I had to make a transition for that. So I think it's a great thing to bring in people and scale, but imagine trying to train people on something that you don't know how to do. Imagine holding them accountable to KPIs that you don't even know what it feels like to get to that yourself. So sharing my own mistake I made in hopes that other people don't make that mistake.
Yeah, and you are your strongest advocate for your business, right? Because that you know the ins and outs of like what your product is, why is it better than the competition, what's the benefits of it. Like a salesperson can like say it, but people can tell whether they mean it or not, right? Like you as the business owner are going to mean what you're going to say compared to a salesperson that's just looking for a commission, right? Obviously, there is a knack to do it. At the end of the day, like this is your baby, and you will be more authentic in selling it compared to outsourcing it to someone else.
Yeah, and I think like what you said, Max, like product market fit's really important. So if you're trying to sell something, you won't get that information. Like that is the best information you can get trying to sell your thing because you're going to hear people's responses and it's not always going to feel great. And when you get your first yes because you're like, all right, I didn't say that right. That's not a big enough problem to solve. They didn't seem that interested when I offered my service or my product this way, but the next time I repackaged it. So doing the calls yourself is just going to let you make sure you have product market fit. An example in my own business, I talked about reliable recurring revenue and generating that. And it turned out I found that wasn't as attractive to people. They didn't even feel like they could generate reliable recurring revenue. That felt like something above them. And I found that saying predictable revenue was something that felt really attractive to the people who like to work with me. They're like, yes, I want predictability in my business. I want to know what I'm going to make every month. And I wouldn't have learned that if I didn't have enough sales calls myself. And as the business owner, I think you should always stay in sales. Somebody asked me that just yesterday. He said, if you're going to help me scale my business, it was a sales call for me. And he's like, but can I ask you a question? He said, are you not scaled? Why are you doing the sales call yourself? And I thought that was such a great question. and I sit because I want to, because I need to in my business. I don't do all the calls, but you have to stay in touch with your business. You cannot outsource your business to other people. If you want to be, you have to step into the CEO role that the business needs. Like, you're not going to get where you want to go if you're going to expect other people to do it all for you.
Going back to going to continuing our conversation with scaling, what's your age group in terms of like business owners that you work with?
It really doesn't matter on the age, but generally, people are a little more established. They might be 35 to 55 or around that age range.
Okay, and the reason why I asked that is like you said one of the excuses that business owners make in terms of scaling is they are not technologically savvy, and there's so many technological products out there to help you scale, and they're saying, "Well, I don't understand all this tech stuff, so I don't think I can scale as effective as I want, so I'm not going to bother. I'll just be happy with what I'm making." But that's obviously not the case, right? So, can you elaborate more on that in terms of like why you should not use that as an excuse? And the other thing is, what are some easy to use tech tools that you've used or implemented in your client's business to help them scale more efficiently?
Yeah, I mean, get with technology or you'll be buried. Like, that's the truth. And to be honest with people, it's like, if you're not using AI, you're going to fail. You have to get with the tools and use the time. So find out how you learn best, what works best for you. And sometimes it's taking training programs. Sometimes that is where you hire somebody on Upwork or Fiverr or somewhere else to help you with the thing that you need. But you need to be the one to understand what the solution is that you need. And somebody asked me earlier this week, like, how do I stay motivated in my business? And I think this relates to the technology. And it was that I don't let myself get bogged down with things that might feel too hard for me. So whatever they are, I use other people to do those things, right? A team. If I don't want to create content, I don't want to edit videos, I don't want to make sales pages, whatever it is, then I have someone else do that for me so that I can keep myself kind of motivated and focused on what I want. And with technology, there are so many tools, but don't overdo it. People can end up overdoing it when you have too complicated of a tech stack and you have too many tools. It's not going to help you. It's like if you have all that data, if you have all the information in the tools, but it's like if you're not going to use it, if it's not going to help you. So I say, depending on your age and your comfortability with using different tools, pick one thing to get started with. If you're not really on social media, then choose a channel that's going to feel the best to you. Or for your listeners who are really tech savvy, don't get lost wasting your time on so many tech tools that you're not actually like having conversations with people that can generate revenue. So it's quite a balance. As far as tools, project management tool, I think that everybody needs that. There's a lot of them out there. I like Asana. Currently, I feel like it works well. Easy, free version. We use Slack. That's a tool that people can use for free. Voxer is a great tool to use for communication. You can have conversations with yourself and clients. And then as far as like CRM goes, we use Go High Level. We actually have a white label version under my company that we build out with the snapshot. I find that to be the most effective because you can build websites in it, you can have your communications in it on social media and other places. And don't be afraid of technology. We have an automated software for generating leads on LinkedIn, and it really works really well. And it increases the volume in a way that humans just aren't able to do. So don't hold yourself back from what you might really want because you're afraid of using a technology. Get somebody to help you figure it out. Get somebody to help set it up for you. It's possible.
I have this software called Appointmatic, and I didn't realize till later on that it's just a white label version of Go High Level, right? So like it's similar to what you're doing too, right? So a lot of people are white labeling Go High Level software.
Yeah, because it's a great tool. You know what I mean? The benefit of getting it under someone who has a white label is hopefully they're going to give you the snapshot and they've added some customizations in it so that you're going to have those as well. But it is a really powerful tool. And it generally, it's around $99 a month wherever you buy it, even if you buy it right from Go High Level. It's just multi service. So I like it that way because people, when they have one CRM, they have a different system for something else. Getting those systems to communicate with each other isn't always so easy. So if you're not great at technology, you're going to be better off using something that is, has some all in one initially. So you don't overcomplicate things for yourself.
If someone's like listening or watching this conversation and they're struggling with scaling their business, they've tried numerous things, but they're still at like the 10K a month mark or 15K or what have you. What do you think is the first step in taking corrective action to go on the right path to scalability?
I'd say first get clear on what you want. Take some time to reflect on what is it that I actually want to happen here. And then the next thing is to have a strategic plan, looking at your data and having a plan. All right, if this is what I want, how am I going to get there? And sometimes people can do that themselves just by allowing that space and time. and sometimes working with somebody else is helpful. So that's what I would recommend. Like just like with technology, any business that's 7 and 8 figures, they're not doing everything themselves. So if you're out there thinking that like you should figure it out yourself or you don't deserve to have help, sometimes it's those big decisions where we do invest in ourselves. That's what makes the biggest difference. I know every time I've done that for myself, it's always given me more of an ROI than anything else could. So if there's somebody out there, find somebody who can help you achieve what you want. Sometimes you just need somebody to bounce a conversation off of and help you make sure that the plan that you're coming up, the strategy makes sense. But have a strategy. If you don't have a strategy, you can't get somewhere new if you don't know where it is you want to go.
Absolutely. And if someone wants to reach out to you to get that clarity, how what's the best way to do so?
They can go to my website, kararenninger.com/schedule. They can schedule a call with my team and I. Be happy to talk to you about scaling. And I hope everybody goes after their dreams and don't let, what we don't know hold us back. If you have an idea as an entrepreneur, if you're a creative person, I'm very interested in working with purpose driven entrepreneurs who want to make a big difference for other people. And so if you're out there and you have something that would help somebody else, you know, give it a try for yourself. Don't be afraid to do it.
And that's a great way to end off our conversation. I really appreciate the time, Kara, and hopefully people will reach out to you to help them scale their business.
Thank you so much for having me, Max.
Thank you so much for watching. For more content on careers, job search, and self improvement, make sure to hit that subscribe button.